Greetings and great early day to you all, or shadow hours, depending on what time of the day or shadow hours that you are watching this and coming and joining in and tuning in with us. We are sitting here with the gracious deity,
Michael A. Frazier Jr., known to some, and since January 19th of 2007, upon my acceptance into the ancient Egyptian order, also known as Sermetut.
Okay. Well, what we're doing here today is we're just sharing. This brother has a phenomenal story, and as all stories, they have their positives and their negatives. As we say, the negatives lead us into the positive, because in every problem there's always a pro, and if you work with it, you'll see your solution come to fruition. So we are working on this pro in that problem, as they say.
Yeah,
so
we gotta heal this situation.
Exactly. So this gracious deity is gonna share his more of his story, or as we say, factory. With us. We have a few questions, if that's okay with you, brother.
All right, go ahead, brother. I'm good.
All right. First question we want to ask, I guess, how do you feel your family and friends view this decision to seek a traditional healing, which you are doing? You're seeking a matter of fact. Could you just briefly explain this travels that you're taking?
Okay. I currently have a GoFundMe campaign that's happening. It's called or titled My Healing Journey. Excuse me. That healing journey is taking me to South Africa. In taking this trip to South Africa, I'm going to seek traditional healing, and in doing that, I'll also be being trained and initiated as a traditional healer known in South Africa in Zulu culture as a Sangoma. You have different cultures who have different names for this particular profession, which is necessary in all cultures. The Russians call them shamans. You have Native Americans, they call them, the root doctors. They take on the name shaman too, since that's become such a exotic term. It sounds good to say, shaman, but then if somebody says somebody is a root doctor, then it's got a negative connotation, or somebody will say, oh, it's a witch doctor, it's got a negative connotation. But basically that's what's happening right now, and I am already scheduled to be flying out on December 15th of this year, 2016, so that I'll be able to make it back before my birthday on April 1st of 2017. So it is important for me to do my best to live to see that day too, so that I'll be able to still be here with my wife and children and the rest of the community that I'm extremely involved with.
Okay. Well, we wish you all the greatest on that one.
Appreciate that.
So again, we were wondering. We wanted to ask, how do you feel your family and friends view this decision to seek traditional healing in Africa?
All right, that's a good question. It's interesting because when we say Africa, for us and our people, a lot of times what we find happening is that we have become afraid of our own things. We've become afraid of our own cultures and things like that. So I do have a certain level of concern for my family members who may be thinking that, they know me as Mike. They'd be like, oh, Mike done gone crazy. He done lost his mind and all this. And me and my father had a conversation before when my first Facebook page, my name on Facebook is Sermetut, but I also have another one as Michael Frazier as well, right? The reason why I made two Facebook pages is literally because my family, certain members of my family came to my father and said, oh, what's wrong with your son? He done changed his name and all this. He must be he a Muslim and all this stuff, right? So I know it had them, in a level of concern But the concern is more so out of not knowing, and then a lot of times when we don't know, we continue to not know because we don't ask. So I want to make sure I give them the opportunity to be able to ask as many questions concerning it as possible, so that they won't be having preconceived notions based around ignorance. So I feel it necessary to make sure I kind of clear things up for them. One thing that I've learned from my master teacher, Dr. Malachi York, is that language is key. And what has happened is a lot of our people don't even ask for the meanings of words and a lot of the things that we deal with. For instance, like right now after the whole election here in America and everything, you got a lot of people coming up with a lot of Bible quotes and things like that coming out of Revelations and stuff. They're looking at stuff that's getting real tough, real bad right now. If I could point their attention to, like for instance, Revelation chapter 18 verse 23. Revelations 18:23. It says, "And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more in thee. For thy merchants were great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived." So, I mean, why am I bringing that up? I'm bringing it up to cue in on that word sorceries. Because like we've been taught, don't believe me, check it out. Please go look it up. Right there in that verse on that word sorceries, it's coming from a Greek word, which when you look up inside of the concordance, you'll see it listed up under the number 5331 or G5331 Strong's Concordance, and also G5332 Strong's Concordance, having the two words pharmakeia and pharmakeus. The definitions of those words says the use of or administering of drugs, poisoning, sorcery, magical arts often found in connection with idolatry and fostered by it, metaphorically the deception and seductions of idolatry. And also a definition for sorcerer, or Greek Strong's number 5332, says medication. So it's one who prepares or uses magical remedies, or a sorcerer. So in Revelations 18:23, because I study the way I do, comparative religions, culture, and things of that nature, as a student of Wu Nuwa, universal knowledge, natural nature, understanding that everything is energy, period. We want to make sure that we look at the facts of what this thing is saying, because me being retired from the military since 2000, and this is Veterans Day, by the way. So yeah, happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out here, right? Literally, with me being retired from the military, I'm receiving medications from the VA, or the Veterans Administration, on a regular basis. And this is coming from, these are their pharmaceuticals, which is where you get, it comes from the words pharmakeia or pharmakeas, like we just defined. So what we're saying is, based on definition and the facts of these words, we're saying that that's already dealing with someone else's sorceries. They're synthetic sorceries, by the way. It's not even natural. They're taking natural things and then they're giving it to me. And let me give you this real quick, because I was looking. First off, for anybody who knows me, I'm dealing with seizures and other things of that nature. When you ask the question, if you look up what the word seizure means, it says this is the action or capturing someone, or the action of capturing someone or something using force, the action of confiscating or impounding property by warrant of legal right. And then when they ask about seizure in the sense of what, because see, you see, that's just a title, which means to take something by force. So what they're saying is, when they see me have a seizure, or we go into some convulsions or whatever like that, they're saying, oh, he's being taken by force right then. And I'm glad that this ain't about 50 to 100 years ago, because if somebody would have saw me having a seizure 50 to 100 years ago and being a black man at the same time, you talking about being burned on the stake and all that. Me personally, I'm not trying to be burned on the stake and all this. And as far as my family, I don't want my family to feel like, hey, we don't know what else to do but try to give him a spoon to put in his mouth or something like that. So, you know, the doctors, every time I ask these doctors, they don't truly know what it is. So what they'll say is, as far as the Epilepsy Foundation, they say a seizure is a sudden surge of electrical activity in the brain. Electrical activity, once again, we're back to talking about how everything is energy, right? A seizure usually affects how a person appears to act for a short time and things of that nature. But the funny thing that I always ask my doctors too is, have you ever had a seizure? And none of the doctors that I've ever had have ever had a seizure. So it's like, how am I supposed to listen to you about something that you know nothing about? So it's problematic. And like I said, I've been dealing with that for 16 years. And then, when we talk about these medications or this pharmakeia or these sorceries that I'm getting from these other people, what we do know is they don't even know how they work to actually spare people of the seizures either. But we do know that the medications that they give us have extreme, crazy side effects that actually help to kill you faster than to heal you, because they don't heal you anyway, they only treat you. So the side effects kill most of us by these medications a lot of times anyway. Just check on what chemotherapy does. Check on what antibiotics are. Excuse me.